And the problem with woke culture is that it's trained too many young minds like yours to forget about that.
Yes.
The slow hand clap. That's what every comedian works for, Piers.
Let me do it faster. I've done the Oxford Union, tough crowd normally, but you actually won a lot of them over. They were quite respectful. And I think you were probably a bit surprised by the response. It's gone viral, global, all over America as well, because it really resonated with people, I think, rather like me, where I'm not right-wing, I'm not left-wing, I'm kind of slightly centre, I guess, politically about stuff, a liberal more than not, but I find this ultra-woke mentality so illiberal that it borders on the very fascism they profess to hate most. So to see you go into the Lion's Den a bit with all these woke students, and actually what I thought was impressive about it, Constantine, was the way you didn't demonise them. And maybe that is the way to progress and get this woke nonsense dealt with properly, is that you don't demonise them, you actually show them a better way.
I think so, and like you, I identify as politically non-binary, Piers. And so that's the angle I was approaching from. And look, the fact is, both you and I know that when we were 18, 20, we were idiots as well, and we were very cocky and sure of ourselves, and we thought we knew the answers to everything.
What we didn't have was the internet to brainwash us.
And we didn't have this very powerful ideology, actually. Wokeness is an ideology, and there's some very strong concepts behind it. But that all aside, I mean, I found that I had a very interesting encounter, because you once have seen this, but we had to wait quite a long time before the debate started. And I actually was talking to one of the students in the bar, and she couldn't believe that I even thought the woke people existed. Like, to her, this was unicorns. But she came up to me after the debate and asked for a selfie. And that's kind of what I thought really summed up the whole experience. We've got to remember, these are young people in their mind. They're open to persuasion. We got to make better arguments. And I think antagonizing people, and we've all been there, you and and everything else, my journey with my show, TRIGGERnometry, it's been an evolution too.
Yes.
I haven't started out like this necessarily. But what I've come to now, and maybe it's being a father of a young child now as well, I'm starting to see that, these are kids, and we have a responsibility to persuade them, to convince them with rational argument. And look, when you're speaking to bright people like the ones at Oxford, you've got a chance.
I mean, one of the worst aspects of wokery is the way that people now feel too afraid to express opinions. And it's becoming a real thing where people, I had Dame Joan Collins on here, didn't want to say what she thought a woman was. And she's one of my favourite people in the world, Joan. And obviously knows what she believes a woman is, but didn't want to raise her head over a parapet just to be shot down by the trans lobby or whatever lobby it may be at any given moment. There's this mob mentality. If you don't agree with me, you must be cancelled immediately, shamed, vilified, J.K. Rowling, whoever it may be. How have we got to this place? What's fueling it? How do we deal with it?
Well, first of all, I know that you're shocked by it, and I think a lot of people in the West are shocked, but actually, as someone who grew up in the Soviet Union, this is very familiar. I mean, this is exactly what we had, and that's one of the reasons I'm in this country, is my grandfather said the wrong thing and was forced into exile. So this is actually, if you think about human history, pretty standard. We just didn't expect it to be happening in the 21st century. And I think technology is a big part of it. Social media allows people to mob other people.
Well, it fuels also tribalism. It fuels this sort of righteous indignation that people, the victimhood.
And
people
get power. Don't forget, there's also
there's real power. And the power actually manifests itself from the mob going to corporate world and demanding that they fire people and get rid of people who don't agree with their view.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people, particularly, and, this isn't an attack, but, if you don't have a lot of meaning in your own life, this is a way to get some meaning, because you tap this thing on your phone or on your keyboard and suddenly a famous person's getting cancelled. I think that's a big part of it. But as I say, and as you frankly point out, I think the solution here is to be reasonable, to talk to people, to try and persuade them, while also, of course, we got to stand up and not allow these cancellations to happen. And that means that, TV producers and big corporations, they have to step up as well.
I mean, I was forced out of my last job for disbelieving Meghan Markle, which seems preposterous now, given the nonsense that comes out of her mouth. But that showed me that when the mob attack the corporate world will often bow to the mob, because actually they're just terrified of the consequences. They're terrified of losing advertising revenue, sponsors and so on. That's the way they do it. It's very well marshalled and well organised, albeit they're quite a small number of people. They're just well organised.
Yeah, and they're able to create the illusion that there is lots of them, because on social media you can get a lot of traction with not a lot. But I think you're right. And I think the fact is that we're building an alternative ecosystem now. Shows like mine on YouTube, and there's going to be companies that are making products that don't don't care if you're woke or not.
Yeah.
Advertisers that are not interested in the stuff. And I actually said this on Twitter today. I think the future isn't woke or anti-woke. The future is post-woke. We just got to move past this.
Well, the trouble is the word has become toxic. Originally, woke meant that you were just more alert to racial and social injustice.
Yeah.
Well, we would all sign up to that. Anyone with a brain and a conscience would say, yeah, I can sign up to it. But it's been hijacked by the ultra wokies, who basically are a form of fascist.
Who are using this for their own ends. And I think that's why all of us have actually just got to move past it and go, this is a period in human history which was pretty stupid. Let's move on. Let's see how we can work together. But Piers, we've got to change the way that we have political conversations in this country, because that's where this polarization is coming from. And we carry on down this path, it's very dangerous.
Well, that's so tribal as well, and toxic, and hyper-partisan, fueled again by social media. People don't want to admit anything wrong with their side.
Right.
And it's so refreshing when occasionally you hear one of them do it. You know, you think, wow, there's someone prepared to criticise their own side, as if it's somehow a football team and you can't admit to giving away a booking or something. So why?
Yeah.
How do we get to that place in a democracy? The whole point of democracy is that actually we have a debate and we reach consensus.
Well, right, and that's what I quite often do as my audience grows and expands. I go out of my way to annoy some of them, to just kind of position myself correctly, because I don't want to be playing to any echo chamber. I'm trying to just be honest about what I think.
TRIGGERnometry, you're going to go gangbusters on the back of this viral clip. I mean, are you surprised by how it's taken off?
I mean, it's going to sound arrogant, but I'm not. I felt pretty good on the night, particularly, you know.
No notes, I noticed.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty clear on what I think about it now. You know, we spent 5 years on TRIGGERnometry interviewing all sorts of fascinating people, you know, the Douglas Murrays, the Jordan Petersons, lots of people on the left trying to understand what's going on. Because, you know, the story of us is it's two comedians, didn't really know what was going on, but what we felt was in comedy, there was a lot of hypersensitivity and outright censorship going on. We could understand where it was coming from. So we thought, let's talk to people who are smarter than us, who can explain what's going on. And now I'm pretty clear on what I think.
Well, you've been trying to get me on TRIGGERnometry for a while.
When are you coming
out? I will now publicly agree, and we're going to do it at our mutual friends restaurant, Il Portico in Kensington. Set a date, I'll be there. Let's put the world